Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning from London and Brunel, and good afternoon in our colleague in Ahliya. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to have you again for the second day at the conference, and the 12th conference annual PwR Doctoral Symposium conference. Yesterday it was very interesting topic, and I think for even academic, not just PhD researcher, give us thoughts to think about how the research. I would like to say from the beginning, I'm thankful and grateful for the PhD researcher for a well done presentation and topic. And of course, thank you for the support of both supervisor Ahliya and Brunel to support the student in their PhD journey. Without further ado, today we have Dr. Tatiana. She is the PGR Director for Engineering and IT, and she will give us a very interesting talk. Her keynote speech is going to be about how to identify the research gap using visualization technique, which is important, I think, for any first starting PhD and even over the first year to identify clearly the research gap, because without identifying a good research gap, really the PhD, all of it, the research is not valid. Because if you're going to do whatever previous people have done, there is no PhD, as simple as that. As well as I've been told that today we have 2 presentations, not 4, so we might finish early due to circumstances. We don't know about it later on. So we might finish early, as I said, but that depends on how the conference will go. Thank you very much, Tatiana. My dear, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon in Ahliya. So depending where you are, and it's all come well. Thank you very much for inviting me to give this talk, and I hope this talk will be very much useful for everyone who will be looking into this. Today we are going to speak about how to identify the gaps in research. I think everyone who has ever done PhD work will be always puzzled, and remember your first feeling when you go to see your supervisor look at you and say, go and identify the gaps. Okay, and say, what gaps? How can you go with scientific gaps, you know? So how can I find this? And the first things, like sort of students go back and start to talk to each other saying, how can I find these gaps? What he means about this? Like sort of, I know very little about this, and how can I do this? Here we have developed a number of techniques, but it's basically known techniques, but I'm going to try to show you a little bit how different tools of visualization will help you to identify these gaps. Because in reality, to identify these gaps, it means you need to identify some areas that has not been thoroughly researched. So the aim of our session today, we need to understand the principles of literature review, because in order to identify the gaps, we need to do a thorough literature review. So we need to have a look how the literature review will be addressed, and what do you need to do with. Usually everyone will come and say, I'm doing literature review. Okay, it's in reality, literature review is very wide process, and when you look at the papers, you could look and pay attention to completely different areas of these papers. And we can start to look today how we are going to use the literature review for us to identify the gaps. So before doing this, let's start to try to remember, how do we actually do research? So when we do research, we always ask first research question. We're questioning. So what is research? How it comes, like sort of we set the question, okay, and process of getting the answer through this research question? It's called research. So for us, it's important to understand any research we are doing, it's question-led. So we are concentrating on question which we are doing. So it means, in our case, every single time we do research, we have to know how to set up a correct research question. We set up correct research question. We will try to find the answer for this question. When we start to look in research papers, very often when you have paper in front of you, remember your first research papers you read. You look at them and say, it takes 1 week, 2 weeks for me to read only one paper. How do you expect me during dissertation to read so many papers? In reality, when you have a paper in front of you, you have very close look. You could understand everything what's going on about the paper. You can understand everything what its come around is. It doesn't mean you understand what's going on outside of this paper. I would like to get a little bit analogy that as scientists read the paper, it's the same like painting stays very closely to Malbert and draw something. Have you ever seen how painters paint the paintings? Have you noticed before? So we have a Malbert, yeah? And with painters always walk close down, close down, close down. Why do we do this? The reason why painters do this, they go to the painting, they read closely something, they go back and have a look at the bigger picture. They had a look at the bigger picture, they come back and read again and draw again, and after then go back. So I would like to compare scientists as a painters. We create something in research, we create something new, something unknown. So we explore, we provide some originality to us. The same as painters. Painters, we always create a new piece of art. And the process of this, no matter how it looks like, it's very similar for researchers, for scientists, and for painters. When we read paper very closely, we stay closer to Malbert. But in reality, we need to learn how to get all so many papers together and get in our head bigger picture. How can you hold this bigger picture of all these papers around so that you start to understand what's going on in the area? And actually, this process of doing this, it's very similar to painter when he goes outside a little bit and have a look on from distance. So basically the process of looking on collection of papers and trying to draw a conclusion, it's basically the process of literature review. It's the aim of literature review for you to teach and understand what was happening around outside, yes, outside of your paper, and how it's all fit. Okay, so with painting is okay because painter has only this square picture, so he can see everything straight away, so no matter how far he goes. We are as researchers, sometimes we are dealing with 50, 40, 60, 100 papers at the time. How can we hold all this in our head and making sure it's efficient? And this is challenge, and this is something, the skills we need to develop. So let's start with simple things, and it always comes with literature review. So we are looking for literature review first and start to have a look what is happening. Okay, when we say literature review, a lot of them saying, what are you doing now? I'm doing literature review. In reality, when we say the literature review, we need to know why we are doing this. So it's not about doing literature review for literature review. We need to reason why you are looking for some papers, what you are looking at the papers. Because depending on what you are looking at the papers, it will shape up your bigger picture around this. It could be narrow to focus of your research question. So basically from bigger picture to get to the smaller picture, and it's one purpose of your literature review. It could be look for topics. that have not been thoroughly researched. It could be avoid using researching on ineffective approaches. It's important to know, but can you see every single step so far I said we have completely separate aims. It's completely separate purposes. It means when we look on literature review, we are looking from completely different point of view. So we look for learning methodological issues, how methodology will eat, but it's completely different than, for example, what the methods are ineffective. So it means, look, when we are speaking about this, it means a literature review must have a purpose, and you could conduct separate different pieces of literature review depending on your aim, what you want to achieve. You would like to find what will be future research, and this is your gaps. So what are the gaps? It's future research, where the science is coming. You could have a look on corroborate theory. So something that we have to understand and establish is that we always have a question in ahead of our literature review. You cannot do literature review without a question. So basically what I'm saying, that every single purpose, it could be paraphrased inside of your research question. Research question. Yeah, it could be paraphrased by research question. Yeah, and this will lead your literature review, how you do this. It's quite important, because if you know why you're doing literature review, what is your aim, you may do this differently the way how you follow them. So let's have a look first, just reminding you how we are doing the literature review first before we start to look on power of visualization. First of all, we search for different papers. We identify some of them suitable for us for the topics, some of them we read, and after that we synthesize. And we synthesize or visualize, in my case, I'm trying to show you, it will show you the approach, how to do the literature review. So when we speak about visualization, I want you to think a little bit and tell me, when you consider the new paper, yeah, so what it's basically, try to get the new paper, think about the new paper, completely new, that you have never seen before, you have never read this before, okay? And can I ask you a question? What do you first do when you look at the paper? What do you do first when you look at the paper?
Read the title.
You read the title. Good. So it means the title is important. Title will give us the topic.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what gets your attention after the title? In the first seconds when you're looking at the paper?
The abstract.
The abstract. So you see, we know now the abstract is important. And we know that first impression is very important when you're looking at the paper, because this is when you make decisions, shall I read this paper more or I will not? Now, when you look at the second glass, what are you catching in the paper?
Conclusion.
Very good. You see, so now we know that abstract and conclusion is very important. So these parts of paper is very important to read and have a look. And this is how we go straight away. Now, once you've done title, abstract, and conclusion, what are you going to do now? So what will be your next step?
References.
Looking. Say it again.
References.
References. Yep. So you start to have a look to references. And when you start to look at the paper overall, what are you paying attention to the most? What do you think is the most important part for you?
Methodology.
Methodology. So you start to extract methodology to see that it's important or not. So you see, like sort of, we just start to have a look and we start to identify the main parts of the papers, such it gets you quite important pieces of information, such it's you once you start to look on the paper, what it makes your impression about these papers. Okay, and this gives you all understanding, overall understanding of the paper and how important they are. So we have a question, is this a question about writing an abstract? No, it's not a question about writing the abstract. First, we need to start to understand how the paper is organized and what main important parts. So it's not important. You need to start to understand in the paper what important parts you look at when you read the paper. Once we start to understand, we will start to look at next steps as well. Now, we established with you already the parts of papers. It's quite important and you are looking forward, yeah? But this is only about one paper. And how can we put papers together, start to have a look and visualize gap? So let's have a look how examples could be done. Okay, so let's have a look at an example. You might not be expert in this, and it's perfectly all right. But for example, if I put the question is, what are parameters most used in network design? Okay, so now let's have a look at the power of the table and how the tables can help us to answer these questions. Okay, so if I set up this particular question, what I will do, I will put author and the year also at the very beginning. Okay, so I can put title, article title. I can put some algorithms I used, but because my question is about parameters, this is my all objectives I'm looking for. So when I construct my table about the parameters that has been used, what I'm doing every single time I read the new paper, I am adding a new objectives. For example, if you will have a look, when I read the first two papers, I will have only coverage and traffic. I read another paper, I will add cost. So every single time I read the paper, I just add one more parameter. Okay. Now, you are not expert in this paper, in these papers, yeah, but if you started to look on what has been done in the area so far, you could start to say what has not been done. Okay, so we are looking here. So it's all papers I can find. So it's not about the papers you like. We are looking for any papers you could find to answer this particular question. And if I will have a look, and by now, all papers I can find, I can start to generate what type of novel approach and combination of objectives it could be done to define for you the gap. Okay, so for example, look, the people up to now, where we are looking only combination of coverage and traffic, there is a very favorite combination of cost and coverage, and very common use of this. So we have some work has been done on coverage and reliability. It tells us that it's basically cost is important and we need to make sure to include this. But it also tells us that, for example, traffic and reliability has not been investigated well enough. And in combination of this, so basically adding, like, for example, coverage, traffic, and cost, it already bring for you some gap to have a look, how the algorithm will perform. Or, for example, adding traffic and reliability will add us some new direction to see how everything is done. Starting with small gap like this, it will start to move forward and benefit. So by doing the table and gradually ticking the boxes, it helps you out to understand what has been done in the area. And once you understand what has been done in the area, you will be able to derive what are the gaps next. So far, so good? Any questions so far? Good. Okay, so we've just saw the, like how we use the tables just to visualize for particular parameters that could be used in particular methods. So different ways, but still tick boxes, we can start to look on some features. For example, instead of using some authors and the years, we say that, for example, in our research, we want to look on particular features that has been used. So what we can do, we can add particular features that we think it's important for your research. And after then here, you could put authors and year. And what you're trying to put, authors, years, or name of approaches, and so on, what you're trying to do, it's opposite way. You started to set up the composition of features you think it's important, and these features can be completely different. And you start to tick the boxes to see on the parameters that could fit. Okay, looking on every single paper that's in your area that will cover completely different features, you will be able, looking on the pattern, to see what is unique features of some work that you could propose. So basically, proposed work which could fill the gap and show some uniqueness features, yeah, it will show us how your work is new or different in relation of others. Okay, so we are looking on the cases where instead of just going through papers and trying to keep everything in our head, we start to get systematic approach and trying to identify and clearly specify what features they are. Based on doing this, it helps you to systemize this approach, but also it helps you to identify what features has been done more clearly, and based on analysis of this pattern, you could draw the gap. We had a look a little bit on power of the tables and how tables can help us to do this. For example, if any of you use Mendeley, Mendeley will help you to make a notes, and based on the notes, you can make a tables, for example. And Mendeley can help you start to summarize these tables. Oops, what's going on? Sorry. Okay, I think I could see what screen now fully. Okay, now I will show you a completely different approach. This approach is basically goes based on the brainstorming maps. On the maps, how you could basically demonstrate how research moving from one area to another one, but it still will allow you to identify the different directions. For example, in this particular case, what we do, we put how algorithms are moving and developing, evolving. So this, we are basically, we draw a diagram of how development has been done from different algorithms. Okay, so in this particular case. And once we have identified all directions, which is the interest for us, what we do, we start to put associated papers with each of direction. For example, selection of based on domain. We are looking that it was some approach has been done. You could put some features inside, and any papers we found, we basically associate with this. Okay, so by doing this, you are basically building a slightly bigger picture, looking on what papers have been related on one particular element you are interested in, where you could specify parameters that could be key parameters to evaluate the quality of your solutions or features that are important for your method. Once you build these features, you could start to have a look, for example, in this area, work has been done, but for example, they haven't covered all parameters. And you could start to say that where the gap can be and what you can do. So basically, in order for us to understand the gap, first we need to understand the bigger picture. And in order to understand for us the bigger picture of research, visualization, like for example, mind map I showed you here, will help us to understand what has been done. And once we've been able to build what has been done, you will be able to analyze what has been done and make your own decision. What are the gaps? What can be done next? So can you see this visualization I showed you? It brings you power to make your own decision what the gaps are. And you can start to argue with your supervisor what has been done in the area and what hasn't. Let's have a look completely different approach, saying that yes, I want to have a look the gaps. Yes, I want to have a look what's going on, but supervisor is asking me what will be the next in the area. And here again, visualization helps us a lot. It's not something that would get us. Let's have a look. I can put the years in our line, okay? And I want to find out, for example, in this particular case, we are looking for such discipline is evolvable hardware, and we want to find out what will be next in terms of application, where these particular techniques can be applied. What we do, we create different color techniques for different areas: general electronic engineering, robotics, data analysis, image processing, and so on. So we define the big areas first, and we have a yes. And what we do, we put application starting to write from the area when it has been introduced and published. So basically, you sort of draw the graph, but semantic graph, where you demonstrate what type of application when has been introduced. Can you see it? For example, when I read for clock timing for Giga, I can tell you straight away what year it has been introduced. Okay. So why is necessary? So you don't know this area. Have a look. Okay. Can you just tell me? So we are now 2020. So it's interesting. So have a look, interesting experiment. So we have 10 years ahead now. Okay. Looking on this diagram, can you tell me and predict what areas will continue to develop in evolvable hardware over the next 10 years? Is it going to be general electronic engineering, robotics, data analysis, image processing? Which one you think in 2020 has been developed and has been published in this area?
General electronic engineering.
Yep. And I can tell you that it was moving on and it was developed over the 10 years, the next 10 years. Any other areas? Image processing. Yep, image processing was carried on and developing as well over the 10 years and applying these techniques. What areas are completely dead and never been used? Space engineering. Space engineering tried and it's never been used, and it's true. Over the last 10 years, it was no any papers published in this area. Any other?
Medicine.
Medicine, it's true. It's never been used since. Anything else?
Data analysis.
Data analysis, and data analysis has never been used. So look, it's interesting because this research, this summary has been done in 2004, 2005, the latest, the papers that has been finished. So we are looking now and predicting sort of what is going to be in 15 years. So we can check now what was happening. I can tell you that this is exactly what was happening based on dynamics. So this type of visualization in 2005 helped us to predict what is going to happen with the area and which direction we go. Okay. And looking back 15 years ago, when we look on the papers, it's exactly where the publications started to emerge. Publications where we emerging in general engineering, we were emerging in communications, and in robotics. So this is simple type of visualization, but this visualization helped me to predict something what is going to be in future, and very fairly and correct. And look, you are not specialist in this area. You never saw this area before, but somehow you predicted correctly what is going to happen. So what we are saying that having correct way of visualize summary of your research can bring you very powerful tool in terms of the way how you can do this. Usually in research papers, you will not see this type of visualization. You will see analysis based on this type of visualization. But this visualization will help you very quickly to draw very powerful conclusions. What is important, you need to make sure you include all work you could find first in your graph. And if you include all work you can find inside of the graph, you can draw very powerful conclusions. Another way how we can do the visualization, and this is something that I'm starting to use analogies. Analogies, it's very powerful in case of research. I very often speak with PhD students and they say, oh, this research seminar not in my area. I'm not doing medicine or biology. Why should I go and listen this seminar? But using the biologies, using the analogies between different areas, sometimes it's spikes of your imagination and start to think, why I haven't had a look on my research from this point of view. Okay, let's have a look at an example how we can use analogy in this particular case to build up what will be happening next. So what we've done here, okay, this is existing evolution of electronic circuits. So any electronic circuits, when we started to design, we started over the whole long history. We started with design of primitive gates. We use the primitive gates, and after we get the functional blocks. We have component blocks, system blocks, and now we get to embedded systems design. This is how all electronics has been done over the 100 years of history. So we are basically summarizing the evolution, how devices has been done over 100 years of the history. And here we are looking emerging evolvable hardware, but very similarly, we can have a look nowadays, it's quantum computing, which is completely new area of development. But I will tell you straight away now, quantum computing will be following exactly the same steps as evolvable hardware has been used or electronics has been used. Even those two techniques have been completely different operational things, you will still need to go through all these steps from foundational basics, gate level, function, components, and so on. And look what is happening. What I did for evolvable hardware, I was looking and analyzing at which stage evolvable hardware was at the time. And it was somewhere about component based. And theoretical based is always a little bit in head. So you need to know where is the practical base stop and where is theoretical base. And what I can start to do, I can map what would happen next. Okay, this summary has been done 10 years ago, and I can tell you now we are in the area of developing all this. Now, quantum computing, for example, when I get the summary of quantum computing, why everyone starts to speak and saying that quantum computing now is a potential way how to do this. Surprisingly, quantum computing theoretical stage is now at this stage as well. So they are somewhere on component-based evolution, theoretical stage. But also quantum computing, why everyone says that it's now practical now, because they already started to approbate the practical stage, and this practical stage works. That's why we have a lot of emerging. So the next stages for quantum computing will be very much similar to this one. So can you see, by analogy are made based on the history how electronic devices has been developed, by the stages of this development of electronic devices, I can identify and map what has been done so far on theoretical and practical stages, and I can predict and say what are the next gaps needs to be filled in, what will be the next directions, future directions about this. So this is how analogies works. And this analogies works not only, for example, between electronics, evolvable, and quantum computing. It could work from one subject to another one. But you need to know and understand to have a systematic view of this, systematic analysis and definition of this, how we're going to use it and identify. So what I would like you to do, and I showed you several examples how to do this, okay? I would like you to think about your research dissertation, about your research project, okay? And try to write down now and think and tell us what type of visualization techniques will be the most suitable for you to identify the gap in your research area. So what I want you now, try to think and tell us, yeah? So for example, give us the name of your research area and most suitable visualization technique. What visualization technique you will use? To identify your gap. Anyone is brave to start? Anyone? Come on, guys. Do you think any of visualization techniques will be suitable for you when you're trying to identify the gap and connections? What do you think is the most suitable for you?
This is Gauri Shankar, the one, not the analogy, the other one we have given, that will be more suitable for the research papers we are doing.
The tables, yeah?
Yes, right.
Yes, so tables is perfectly valid. What I showed you completely different techniques of visualization you can use, but it's up to you to decide which one is the most suitable for you and what will help you to move forward. Anyone else? So we said that with tables will be suitable for identifying your gaps. Anyone else?
Yeah, this has a visualization. Yeah. Hello, yes. We can have a storage visualization. Okay. We can have network visualization, or in terms of IT, or we have data visualization in terms of having, for example, diagrams you merge together. So all this can be done.
You see, you start to think about presenting the papers, collection of papers using different visual techniques. And if you will start to do this visualization, presenting different visual techniques, you will very quickly start to identify the gaps and what has been exactly done. Anyone else wants to express your opinion? Yes, Wafi.
Thank you for excellent talk anyway. One of the main things which I learned from my supervisor and I copy it to all my PhD students is to produce a table for the topic for at least over the last 15 to 20 years and show the history, the progression of the topic, and that will satisfy most external examiner, because for the last maybe 7-8 years, every external examiner insists to have a table in the literature review. Save them to read, I believe, most of the chapter in literature review, which is usually fat and rich chapter really in citation.
And it's true, like when we start to use the tables and start to get with them in historical way, chronological way, you get a lot of conclusions you will be coming out of this. But you need to start first to appreciate all this before you could start to derive conclusion. You won't be able to derive conclusion by reading only papers. You need to start to synthesize them in some way. So I think we are done. So we've learned about how visualization is used and what you can do. I give you usual traditional ways for visualization, but also I showed you some unusual ways which you will not see in the papers, but it could be as powerful as any other visualization techniques. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tatiana. I'd like to invite Dr. Letty, because she is actually chairing the session, please.
Thank you, Dr. Tatiana Kalganova, for joining us today. It was a really interesting and an interactive keynote on identifying the research gap using the visualization technique. I'm sure it is really helpful for all of us, especially for the PhD researchers. We have a short time left for the question and answer session, so the floor is open for any questions.
Yeah, this is Gauri Shankar, Ahliauniversity. In the visualization technique, you broadly showed about identifying a gap particular to a subject. If I am focusing on something related to a theoretical gap or a methodological gap, do you think still this analogy-based evaluation, or I mean finding the gap or table-based gap, will still help us?
You are muted.
Tatiana, you are muted, my dear.
Dr. Tatiana, your microphone is muted.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes. In your case, when we are looking on theoretical gaps, instead of looking on, for example, features and properties of implemented system, you will be started to look on theoretical developments and what level has been done and what progression evolution has been happening. Okay. And if you are looking, for example, I don't know, communication area, yes. So in communication areas, you can start to have a look for how the systems have been developed in 1G, 2G, 3G. The systems, the analogy of the process will be exactly the same. Technology underlying this will be different. So as a result, for example, when you will be looking to 5G, 6G development, you could start to predict and overline where is current development of technology is and what will be necessary to develop next step.
Thank you, Doctor. Yes, Dr. Wafi.
Thank you, Dr. Letty. Actually, just a comment, not a follow-up. The research gap, as clearly Dr. Tatiana, my dearest colleague, explained, it is you going through the literature. And it is not about only theoretical or area of where the context has been applied. It is about a gap that other researchers are usually finding the conclusion that they said, we cover this, but we couldn't cover this. So this is your golden nugget. This is your research gap. Doesn't matter if it's theoretical or because it is the gap, they didn't talk about it. You take the research and extend it further. And this is where actually your contribution to knowledge whether it is totally new contribution or little bit contribution. Maybe they did a framework and they said we couldn't cover, so you extended their framework. This is contribution to knowledge. Extended their framework. This is contribution to knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wafi. Any more questions?
I have one question only, if you allow me.
Yes, please.
Yes, it's Hassan Razzaqi. Thank you very much, Dr. Titania. I have one question regarding the literature review. When you use visualization technique, the theme should be similar. If I use different methods, or I search for different topics, I believe the theme should be similar, yeah, in order to have a robustic or to come an output, a robustic output or a gap.
Tatiana, again, you are muted, my colleague.
Stop trying to follow muting procedure. You need to understand, remember, one table is one research question. You cannot create one table that answers all questions. For example, if you are looking for methodological gap, for methodology, it will be only one table. If you want to have a look, for example, theoretical advances, it will be different table. If you want to have a look different application areas, it will be different table. Never put everything in one big table. You will get lost. Okay, so you need to make sure, remember, our research is driven by questions. And you need to make sure whatever question comes, one question, one visualization technique. Visualization techniques will be useless to answering completely different questions. So it's basically what you need to do. You need first to set up the question. Yes, you mentioned to me what is better for you. Yes, but it depends on your research area. Are you going to focus on application area? In this case, it will be one table for you to have a look, for example, and one visualization technique. If you are focusing on particular attributes or features of your approaches, it will be different table. It will be different visualization technique. Okay, so it very much depends which direction you want to go. And normally, if you don't know which direction to go, I suggest the student to use a brain map, spider diagram. Remember this spider diagram I showed you? Spider diagram, it helps you to explore. It also will tell your supervisor and yourself which areas you like the most. And the areas you like the most, you will be more motivated to do. Okay? And these areas will drive yourself and you will be more motivated to do and moving forward. Okay, so if you don't know where to go, use the spider net. Do the structure of approaches and start to read. Very quickly you will find that some directions will start to dominate another one. And this is how you narrow down. And once you narrow down, you start to go to the table sites.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tatiana and Dr. Hassan. There's a question from Dr. Ahlam.
Yes, Tatiana, thank you very much. Thank you indeed. Looking forward to see you soon. Physically next year, inshallah, all of us will meet. It was wonderful last year we met you, and thank you again for your support and for your patience with us. Actually, I will not comment on the visualization because really this debate, it will take a long time from us between the theoretical, empirical and the review, and really it can be more discussed in other occasions. However, I took two questions from our students. There are two questions related to their, I want to see how advisable from your side and that student can cite his or her work, number one. And the second one is when they can use I in a text of journal.
Say it again. The first one is
when they can cite and how it's advisable that they can cite their works, citation in their paper, like they cite another paper for themselves.
Well, you could cite, if like sort of, I advise that you cite all papers that you think they contribute to your literature review and there is reason to get there. Don't ignore anything that you think what I like or not. If you published your own work before you go to another one and it leads from one to another one, cite it because it's continuation of your work. It's nothing wrong if you will cite your own work, because you show that it's not the first piece of work you've done and you started to look at the gaps of literature reviews that you have identified in the first paper.
And when they can use I in the text of journal?
No. It's basically, it's good to say in conversations I have done so. The word I, it doesn't work. And it's not academic writing. We are speaking about academic writing.
Definitely. I want them to hear it also. I don't know how many of them they were like asking this same question.
No.
I want also to hear this.
You must make sure that you use passive tense as much as possible. If in some particular occasions when passive tense is not possible, you use we. What is the reasoning for this? Because all your work, even if you're done by yourself, there is a big team of people who advise you on different areas. Okay, so you are, by doing we, you acknowledge all this team that was behind you doing this work. And the word I, either in scientific papers, in dissertations, should be removed. It's called academic writing. And academic writing, we should not have it by any means.
There is a question also, if Dr. Letty, there is a question from a student, I think from Thuraya. What are the suitable way to write our reflection about about every paper in the literature review? It's in the question and answer box.
Okay.
She was interacting with you in the session.
I think it's good. What I'm saying is, you don't start to write reflection until you build all these visualization techniques. Because until you have finished these visualization techniques, you may draw the wrong conclusions. First, make sure that you have all papers done and they are all put in your visualization techniques. Whatever it's graphs, tables, spider nets, brainstorming ideas. So anything, it must be let there first. And only once you put everything in, when you start to speak about this, you start to analyze your table, okay? So you don't reflect on paper by paper, because any analysis paper by paper tells me you don't know how to put all these cross references between papers. You don't know how one paper related to another one. So you are looking for individual papers. But if you use these visualization techniques, yes, and looking on the bigger picture, remember how painter looks on the bigger picture. These visualization techniques help you to look and see the bigger picture in research. You will be able to write reflection. And when you write reflection, you put like one paragraph, one question, one topic. Again, so you don't go author by author, you go, for example, topic by topic, analyzing this.
Thank you, Dr. Tatiana, for a nice explanation. I think the topic is very interesting, and there are also comments about it's a great way of the research gaps, and it enriches our knowledge from the participants. Thank you very much. Any more questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to have a follow-up, clarification. Gauri Shankar again. See, I find normally difficulty in bringing theories to explain phenomena. And most often researchers do not dwell deep into theoretical aspects in their papers. And in such a situation, we have multiple, there are many scenarios where we have a dominant theory, we have overlapping theories, we have interacting theories, and this is a very complex issue. And when you have such a faced with such a complex issue, delineating them into some table or some spider kind of a thing becomes extremely difficult.
Believe it or not, previously, in my previous research life, I was doing quite a lot of theoretical research as well. But in my side, this was more engineering rather than business one. And what I found is if you want to visualize all these complex interactions, what you do, you use some bubble visualization for big areas first. And after then you use the interaction and visualize this interaction using, for example, spider net or tables. Like this, you break all these complex interactions and you concentrate on one element at the time. And in this case, these phenomena help you to visualize easier. So basically, you don't use one technique. You use combination of technique from more coarse to granular level later on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tatiana. It was a very interesting and interactive session. Because of time constraint, we really have to wind up the session. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the participants. Over to Dr. Wafi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Leti. And just to follow up about Gauri's question, it is actually theoretical contribution very limited, especially in business. You use the theory as actually the basis for your research to sit on. And as we said, your contribution, it is about a gap someone missed, whatever they did in their topic. So just to follow on that. Theory, yes, we need it in any one or two, in any PhD, because this is where the whole research sits on that. And it means any theory, unless anyone is a genius, like Einstein, is already there, okay? So use it to base your research. But definitely your contribution is the whole research. Someone missed something and you contribute. Anyway, without further ado, and thank you very, very much. I mean, Tatiana, can we, colleagues, show our appreciation, please, although remotely and not physically. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, my dear. I think now there is a break, 10 minutes of break. Despite we are, I'm grateful to Dr. Ahlam. She sent email to say about the two students who are really PhD students who are not well, they can't present. We wish them well and we hope they will recover very soon. So we have 10 minutes of break. The time in London now is 10 o'clock. So if by 10 past 10 we'll be back for the next session, which will be chaired by Dr. Maria, please. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you find actually the visualization technique that Dr. Tatiana kindly presented very inspiring. I mean, I use mind map, but not necessarily in my publication, not yet, but I use it a lot, mind map, and rich picture as well. Two technique actually used in IT, we use them. Thank you very much all. See you in 10 minutes. Thank you. Goodbye for now.
See you in a few minutes, inshallah.
Inshallah, Professor Abdullah, thank you. Good morning again, everyone. I hope you have a nice comfort break. If we could start again in a minute, please. Thank you. Hello, can we start again, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Ashley, today. Hello.
Hello, Ashley. How are you?
He's here. Good.
Nice seeing you.
Trying to come off mute.
always our pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to see everyone.
Lovely to see you too. Inshallah, next year will be better.
Yes, probably in person even.
After taking our vaccine, which I'll take it this Saturday. I've been invited at last. I was start worrying.
But it's lovely to see everyone.
Yes.
Exactly. Good, Dr. Maria is ready. Excellent. So we just have the PhD presenters. If they are ready, we start.
Just while we're waiting, Professor Abdullah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How is everybody?
Everybody as well. Thank you. It's lovely to see you, albeit virtually.
Good. Very good. Yeah, I was trying to be also like you, you know, just without voice. I'm listening more than talking, you know. So
yes.
And Maria is there. Why is Maria there? Is she chairing the next session?
Yes. We are waiting for Nawaf.
Okay. Because she's hiding from us these days. We don't see her face. So now we do see this beautiful face. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and good morning.
Hello, Professor Ashley. How are you?
You are muted. You are muted talking to us.
It's lovely to see you, Ezra.
Good to see you. See you, everyone.
We start, Dr. Maria. Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Wafi. Thank you very much. Good afternoon and good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be invited to chair a session in this symposium. This brings back a lot of good memories of the very first symposiums. We, as the very first cohorts of non-residential PhD completed, alhamdulillah. My name is Dr. Maria Sabiri, and I'd like to share that this month I'm celebrating 15 years of being a member of Ahlia's family, and also a pleasure to chair the session, which includes one of our members as well, and the PhD candidate. So for this session today, we have two presenters, two PhD candidates, Nawaf Al-Ghanem. His topic is what is it and what are its defining features. That's for network leadership. And Fatma Rawahi will be presenting board level worker representation, a blessing or a curse. Okay, first to present will be Nawaf. Please go ahead. You have, as you know, 20 minutes, 15 minutes for presenting and 5 minutes left for questions.
Inshallah. Good morning, everyone. I'll share my screen.
Network leadership. What is it? What's defining features?
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Network leadership. This is the topic of my paper, network leadership, and defining its features. We'll start. First of all, I'd like to thank Professor Ashley for his extensive support and Dr. Asra. Network leadership. The introduction. First of all, this is the fourth paper extracted from my research. Basically, we are talking about a distributed leadership theory and an organization transformational theory. It was been proved by literature that there is an intersection, whereas distributed leadership states that it's distributed leadership which is instrumental in implementing organizational transformational changes, and the organization transformation theory states that it's leadership. So we found an intersection point between those two theories, which at preliminary stages was assumed to be a network leadership. The aim of this research was to examine the emergence and the existence of this leadership theory. The methodological approach, this paper pursued with a qualitative methodological approach to capture organizational leaders' reflection on the research problem. Data was gathered through semi-structured face-to-face interviews. Qualitative methodological approach was used to expand the research and studies related to leadership. The qualitative research methodology is a constructive instrumental method assisting the researcher in extracting evidence and facts of social, cultural, nature-linked traits and behaviors. This approach provides researchers with a holistic view and results unfolding new knowledge. The network leadership concept itself. The network leadership concept, there isn't much of literature that define and talks about the network leadership itself, but there were many scholars that talked about this concept, recognizing its existing, its practicality, but never defining it based on its concepts. So network leadership was defined as distributed, emergent, collective, and flexible, and proceed as a distributed practice of network actors. That was in the paper by Strasser, Decker, and Kemp 2020. Network leadership was defined in another paper based on mission, trust, collectiveness, and consultation principles. On another paper, it was defined as relational, situational, contextual, and formal, informal, where facilitation, convening, and building trust is the heartbeat of network leadership. It was also defined as connectivity, collectivity, rational, and leaderless. Network leadership was also defined by scholars based on their functions of leaders rather than the network leadership concept. We went deeper and tested more and reviewed more papers. that was dated to 1997 until 2014, where we also found that the network leadership was also defined by the characters rather than the concept of the theory itself. So it was based on the actors, either characteristics or practice. This is a table that presents some of the scholars who define network leadership, and what you can see here that most of them was talking about the trait of network leaders, not the concept of leadership. For example, McGuire and Bever in 2011 talked about the coordination, collaboration, facilitative, power, diversity, knowledge, decision-making, trust, which is basically an attribute of network leader, not network leadership concept. And this applies to all the papers. So we've done a visualized tables where we put all those and segmented them into characters, practice, and concepts. We were able to extract all of the presumed leadership dimension, network leadership dimensions, which you could see on the figure, which again are mostly characters and practice of network leaders. The conclusion to this paper is that the existence of network leadership is acknowledged by organizational leaders and practitioners. The shift from big hierarchical structure towards more flexible, functional, smaller network-based structure swayed many researchers, included this research, to examine network leadership. Basically, this point talks about the rationale of the emergence of network leadership. It is the mindset shift from classical larger structure towards more smaller, flexible, network-based structures. Network leadership is recognized as a response to this mindset and a way to cope with growing organizational complexity. Network leadership is a theoretical approach that formally and informally overlooks and executes organizational initiatives through interconnecting organizational components, as well as aligning those initiatives with the organization at organizational level, and even tying them on sector basis. So if there is an organization that is operating in a manufacturing sector, network leadership might act as a mean that links any initiatives, whether it's organizational change, whether it's improving operations, to the sector benchmarks. Network leadership is defined in this paper by its theoretical concept rather than the practice of network leaders. And that's the contribution that this research is contributing to knowledge. At the end, this research answers the question of what is network leadership. Network leadership is a strategic leadership approach that holistically views the organization from a wide-angle lens, providing leaders with a perspective of organization's position within its environment, linking its transformation initiatives to different organizations across its boundaries in a collective, collaborative approach. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nawaf. Thank you for that short and sweet and up to the point presentation. So that leaves more room for questions and answers. Shall we begin? Anyone with questions? I know I have a few. Professor Wafi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Maria. Nawaf, but it is not really a question, but some comments, since I think you are near the end, if not submission, your thesis, so you have to get it perfect. As I said, they are tiny makeup, but very important for any external examiner. If you take me to the NL slide, which you put some definition, I think the second or third, I'm not sure, please. At the beginning, the second or third. Yeah, second, I think. If you enlarge it, yes, enlarge, yeah. Put it in the slideshow just to mention. I know you can't see my pointer. If you look at the 1, 2, 3, and L is relational, and so on, and you put quotation, do you mind after Stiver 2017, comma, page number? Because when you quote, this is Harvard referencing style, you have to put page number. If you don't quote, fine, no problem. So that is the first one, just a small comma, P, whatever, 10, 13. And if you could take me now to the table, please. I can't remember 6 or 7.
This is the table.
Oh, sorry, this one before, apology, go back one.
Inshallah.
Tislam. This is, you never, I mean, I noticed slide, even slide, you never start with the citation, please. You start with your word and then put the citation at the end. Okay? And the other thing as well, in your thesis, please, not just in slide, start either from the old reference, not alphabetical order when you cite, either from the old to the new or vice versa, to show the whole idea, to show the progression of the researcher work. Because you can see 2014, the first one, then 2001, then in the end, 1997. So I suggest you start from 1997, it's the old one, and you start with them in the years, how actually progress the research. And now the final comment on the table, as I said, because you are near the end. Again, if you look at the author column at the left, if you kindly remove the first bracket, you got the first bracket, PwR, can you see that? And whatever. Put PwR and then put a bracket after the year without the comma. So this should be usually in the table visualization, as Dr. Tatania said. And if you go down, which is good, you have 2011, 13, 17, and then stars 20, and then Cristoli, I think I can't read this more, again 20. It is correct you did 2011, 2013, 2017, but Strauss has to go after Christine, because Christine is, if you look here, alphabetical C before S. When they are the same year, you do alphabetical thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Good. Apart from that, well done. I wish you all the best, you and Dr. Ashley, Professor Ashley, sorry. I know he's keen to make you submit, inshallah. So, inshallah, we hear good news. Thank you very much. Unless there are comments or questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, there is Hussein Abdullah has a question. Go ahead, dear.
Thank you, Dr. Maria, and thank you, Nawaf, for the presentation. I have two questions. The first one is how do you define a leader? That's the first question. I mean, your point of view, because leadership is a concept that between researchers, you will find different point of views. So in your point of view, what is how do you define a leader? The second thing, network leadership, is it applicable to all type of organizations, whether they are educational, manufacturers, governmental entities? I mean, the part of research that you are doing is on which organization, or you are covering all types of organizations? Thank you.
Thank you, Ba'ali. First of all, leadership are defined by the concept of the leadership practice or leadership theory they are adopting or believing in. But the important question is to convince leaders that they or managers that a leader and a manager are two different things. So it's very rare to find those let's say those facilitative leaders, and those leaders with the traits that allow you to be based on a strategic level of leadership, and this is what we lack in most of the organizations, at least within the Bahrain context. Now, to answer your other question, we've conducted this research on the Bahraini context, and it was applied on the national Bahrain oil and gas sector with all its companies, and that's for a good reason, because this sector has been going through a lot of transformation initiatives in the past 10 years, mostly in the past 3 years, and going forward to maybe 2024. The biggest investments in the island of Bahrain, which is covering about $10 billion, are being in this sector. So if it is applicable on an industrial sector, which really believes on the hierarchical leadership approach, which is the classical transaction leadership, and when you see those leaders on top talking about network-based leadership in such complicated organizations, it is applicable on those companies. So definitely it is applicable on other government institutions. And the start of distributed leadership, collective leadership, democratic, and all sorts of team-based leadership styles has started in the, believe it or not, in two sectors, the education and the healthcare sector. And then they were extended to other business and other practices. So government and semi-government and private organizations. So it's a coincidence that it starts always from the educational sector, but then because there when you get lots of researchers interested and giving a lot of thoughts and comments on the validity of any leadership approach or leadership theory, especially the new introduced leadership practices.
Thank you, Nawaf. Thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you very much, Nawaf, for your answer. Anyone else has a question or a comment or an advice, since Nawaf is, I believe, at the end of his journey?
Dr. Maria? Dr. Maria?
Yes, go ahead, dear.
Yes, thank you. Nawaf, you talked about qualitative research in your presentation, and you talked about the constructive approach in building the qualitative research. Have you found something different in your qualitative research that has not been found in the literature? Was you know, culture, was gender, was anything else? You know, the type, you have a case study on the oil and gas, so I can't ask you for comparison with others, but have you done any in your case study with other oil and gas sectors, or other, for example, sectors? So loaded question a bit. So I just wanted to, in your constructive research, what have you found out that is not necessarily in the literature?
So,
thank you.
Thank you, Doctora. Doctora, in the oil and gas sector, it's a multicultural industry. So there is a lot of expats from different organizations. Originally, we had to interview about 3 or 4 top executives from Chevron, which is a multinational organization, and we plus our top of the or people at the top of the organizations who are locals, and believe it or not, the cultural issues were very much similar, because they were talking about organizational culture. So because those organizations are very old, so if you talk about For example, Babco, it's a 91 years old company. Banagas is about 35. Chevron is as old as a dinosaur. But there is a cross cultural, let's say, exchange between the value of the industry itself. The issue was the change in the mindset of leaders. I thought that the idea of team-based leadership won't be a very favorable leadership approach in those organizations. The very interesting finding that was there, that a lot of leaders, especially those in charge of taking decisions or influencing transformational initiatives, were those who really defined network leadership without naming it. So a lot of them talked about team-based leadership, where they believed that boundary spanners, cross-organizational leaders, social influential leaders. So and they gave a very interesting example. Project management teams, where you have a group of leaders, regardless of their position within the hierarchy of the organization, but based on their functionality, their traits, and their ability to get the job done, and meeting the expected results in a timely manner, without naming a network leadership. I remember one of our American executives said this is a cloud leadership or a cloudy leadership. Another said this is a fuzzy leadership. And then when we talked about social network theory, they tended to close the gap and talk more about network-based leadership. So then it developed. But again, going to organizational transformation studies, a rationale came that said that the shift from classical organizational mindset towards more flexible, let's say, structures. That part with the growing complexity of organization made the rationale and helped closing the gap. Why is network leadership emergence is essential? So if you have organizations that are shifting from vertical to more horizontal, flexible leadership to cope with growing organizational complexity, then the reason to have such type of network of leadership is really justified. So this is one of the rationales that got out of this research.
Thank you very much, Nawaf, for that elaboration. If I may ask a question, but you don't necessarily have to answer it, as we have to move to Ms. Fatma Rawahi's presentation. It's a question, and it's a form of preparation for your Viva, inshallah. If there would be one thing, Nawaf, that research deserves to see the light and be published and benefit the body of knowledge, if there would be one thing that you can proudly mention that you came out of this PhD that deserves to be published, what would it be?
Besides the green here, the
one thing, be precise and short, one sentence.
The importance of network leadership in today's growing complexity. This is very important. You can see it. You can see the need for it. But Dr. Maria, Shankar had a question. I'll feel bad if he doesn't ask me.
Sorry, we cannot, because we are over time. We have to stick to time. You could have the discussion after the forum, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Murphy. Okay, so then we will move to Ms. Rawahi. Are you ready, Fatma?
Yes, I am. Hello, everybody.
Great.
I'm just going to share my slides first. Just please let me know if you can see my slides. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
And is my voice clear?
Yes.
So hello all. Thank you for having me here today. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to present my research topic. My presentation will take 10 to 15 minutes of your time. And after the presentation, I will be eager to answer your questions and receive your constructive feedback. The title of my research topic is Board-Level Worker Representation, a Blessing or a Curse. This topic is very dear to me, and I hope that you will learn something interesting by the end of my presentation. This topic has been extracted from my PhD. So, first, let's consider this thought-provoking statement. A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. Let's think about that for a few seconds. Henry Ford never said anything more impactful to business than this famous quote. And I believe never has this business mindset been more relevant than today. Being socially responsible in business is not just the right thing to do, but the best thing to do to people, to the planet, to the economy, and mainly to future generations through sustainable development. And you know what? Governments and policymakers are finally catching up with this notion, many years after the statement was first uttered by Henry Ford. As they say, better late than never. Which brings us to the background of my research topic. There are several reasons for governments, specifically the UK government, calling for corporate governance reform now. These include back-to-back corporate scandals and financial crises. The UK government has stated in its Green Paper in 2016 that some directors have lost sight of their legal and ethical responsibilities towards stakeholders, mainly workers. After all, the responsibility of business should begin internally with its people. Therefore, in order to restore the public's trust and confidence in these companies, the newest published Corporate Governance Code, which was released by UK's Financial Reporting Council in 2018, encourages boards to establish methods for communication and engagement with workers, either through workforce representation on the board of directors, or formal workforce advisory panels, or through the appointment of workforce representative non-executive directors. That being said, the aim of this research topic has been framed as follows. This paper aims to represent a literature review of the two opposing views that I have found in literature of board-level representation, BLWR henceforth, and the underlying theories, including the implication for firms' outcomes, performance, and their board effectiveness. The theoretical framework of this research pits two main opposing theories, two theories as old as time. These are the shareholder primacy theory versus the stakeholder theory. This categorization is accompanied by two partly contra paradigms and has influenced and shaped corporate governance systems around the world. So let's define the two underlying theories of BLWR. First, the shareholder primacy theory supports the idea that corporation exists to serve shareholders only, where it directs the board of directors to manage the corporation for the purpose of maximizing shareholder value. Let me emphasize, they only focus on maximizing shareholder value. They believe that the purpose of organizations or the existence of organization is mainly for shareholders. So I'll take you through this slide first. So another food for thought. The crux of the debate conveyed through the now famous statement was made by Friedman in 1970. Milton Friedman stated that there is only one and only social, let me emphasize the word social, responsibility of businesses, and that is to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profit, as long as it's, of course, within the rules of the game. Okay, so I'll go back. However, businesses in this sense is not working for ordinary people. Financial crises cost workers their jobs and homes, while the gains go to bosses and shareholders. Corporations impact not only people's livelihoods, but also their lives. According to Alex Edmonds' 2020, 14 unhappy workers were driven to suicide in the Foxconn company in China due to labor abuse and working practices. So, this brings us to stakeholder theory. Does this solution lie with Edward Freeman's stakeholder theory? The answer is not so simple. The stakeholder theory suggests that the company's real success lies in considering the welfare of all its stakeholders, not just shareholders, those who might profit from its stock. Stakeholders, after all, have mutual relationship with these companies. Which brings us to our main topic, workers. Workers, according to Freeman, have their source of livelihood at stake, where they receive wages in return for their work. And exchange for their loyalty with the company, workers need to have a voice and participate in their decisions that affect their usage by these firms. However, there is another problem arising with the stakeholder theory. The problem is that of conflicting views. These conflicting views are giving rise to diverse claims from different stakeholders. So, what stakeholders should managers focus on? Jensen in 2002 brings another nuance to the Freeman debate. He suggests that the answer to this dilemma lies between mixing both theories, and he calls this as enlightened value maximization and enlightened stakeholder theory. He states that socially responsible businesses can be successful and profitable because people want to buy from, work, and invest in them. So, this brings us to our question. Is worker representation the answer to stakeholder engagement? Based on the literature, the answer is, again, not so simple. Let us look at some pros and cons of board-level worker representation. These are some of the pros and cons I found in the literature and the debate between different advocates of both theories. The pros says that board of directors meetings, like by involving workers representation in board of directors meetings, facilitates the use of information from employees. The advocates of board-level worker representation perceive workers' voice as a key governance answer to these kind of issues, and it perceives that this increases transparency between companies and workers, which might lead to increase in worker productivity, employee satisfaction, which in turn leads to lower employee turnover. The cons, as represented in the literature, arises that it is impractical for a worker to be a representative of other workers. A single worker cannot be a representative of other workers due to different pay grades. They're in different departments. They have conflicting decisions, benefiting one group of workers over the others. Another reason is that they can form alliances with workers if they have larger voting blocks, and this would conflict with the interest of shareholders. Some say that it is counterintuitive to productivity, as firms with worker representation of the boards tend to invest less in assets and thus far create less jobs and thus decrease productivity. So the question is, what is the way forward? This research will contribute to this debate through an empirical analysis of the relationship between the discussed stakeholder engagement practices of UK-listed company and various firms outcomes, in the light of the latest Corporate Governance Code 2018, of course. So basically, the conclusion and future studies I have come up with, there are implications for regulators and listed companies in following the revised principles of the code. There are also areas for empirical research to investigate border-level worker representation based on the models implemented by China, Egypt, and European countries, because these countries, especially Germany, mandate that there is worker representation on the board. But this is a new introduction to the Corporate Governance Code, and they give them a choice between other different aspects of how they can engage with workers. Nonetheless, research in this area needs to take into account the concern raised by admins in response to the Green Paper, and as well as the unitary nature of the UK's board structure, because in China, Egypt, and European countries, the board structure is two-tiered, whereas in UK, it's only unitary. Finally, research in this area is topical, interesting, relevant, and challenging, with policy, practical, and theoretical implication to both board of directors, companies, and policymakers. So I'm going to end my presentation here, and I'm going to be ready for any questions you have. Thank you.
Fatma, dear, thank you so much. Very clear and practical. Oh, you got my attention, and I have a few questions which I will leave to the end if I get a chance. So, any questions?
May I ask Gauri Shankar?
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, your title is very interesting, and it automatically raises some questions also.
That's the point.
And what happens to a company if, what do you say that, if you can show me the title, please?
Yeah, one second. Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
Yes.
The title is coming.
Can you see, please?
Anyway, I have said board level worker representation. Okay. Now, if you say, if this is going to be a blessing,
yeah,
what does it mean for a company, and how does a company tackle if it is a curse?
Blessing for a company means that they can actually make profits by having by satisfying all stakeholders. They signal some kind, based on the signaling theory, they signal their social work or their social or community engagement to the different kind of stakeholders, and stakeholders will be interested to invest in the company, and it has several performance outcomes that I'm going to measure, such as employee productivity, firm performance, and different many financial ratios. And the curse would be that, as I said, from the cons, it might eventually reduce productivity. It might be counterintuitive. It might affect the optimal design of the board of directors. So it might eventually be a curse and not actually help in increasing the productivity of workers. So basically, my research is gonna to investigate this based on the new code and the requirements of the code. Any more questions?
Interesting.
Yes, a quick question, Fatma.
Yes.
Well done, Fatma.
Thank you.
Dr. Maria. If I could ask, what could be your, at this stage, what kind of empirical framework you are thinking of at your stage now in this year, at this level?
At my level, I've already, this is only one aspect. The board level worker representation is only one aspect I'm investigating. I'm actually investigating workforce benefits, engagement. There are different engagement activities that businesses are required to, not required, they're encouraged to actually conduct with, engage with workers. So I've developed an index that measures this kind of worker engagement, worker voice, worker benefits. That would be used then to investigate and analyze this with the relationship and its impact on the financial outcome of companies. So I'm actually I've started collecting the data manually from the publications, mainly annual reports of companies, because they need to disclose this kind of information based on the corporate governance code and the global reporting initiative. So based on these, they give signals to investors, and investors, based on this information available on the annual reports, will be encouraged to actually invest, and this will increase the firm value. So this is what I'm going to investigate. Is this actually happening or not? And are companies encouraged to actually follow the code, and to what level they're following the corporate governance code?
I have a question, if I may, Dr. Maria.
Go ahead, Dr. Farah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Fatima, and very interesting work. Looking forward to actually reading your research. I was just wondering, you're looking at worker representation on the board. Are you looking also at, for example, the comparison with the workers having stock options or ownership?
Yes, yes.
Because the elements are the same, so so it will be.
I'm looking at that. I'm looking at these the pay ratios. I'm looking at diversity. I'm looking at different elements. I'm looking at engagement with the level of surveys conducted, training, health and safety. These are all elements I'm actually looking at. Worker representation on the board is like just one variable I'm looking at.
Okay, that يطمني شوي.
Yes.
I feel better now. And where are you doing your research?
In the UK, because this has been just published. The corporate governance code has just been introduced in the UK, so it applies to the UK.
And are you looking at all sectors? So you are looking at
yes.
Okay.
All sectors,
all right. So looking forward. You seem a very interesting subject, and you seem to have covered the bases. So looking forward for your research. Thank you, Fatima.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Maria, if you allow me, it's not a question. It's just yeah.
I was going to say, I wish someone from the executive level would ask a question, and you did.
Yeah, I know it's the title is a question, you know, and I know, of course, the answer, you know, because is it a blessing or is it a curse, you know? So, but my question really, yes, Fatma is working and the British corporate governance, which is newly come, you know, is she going to compare it with the local things, or with the is there any different? Because you remember, you know, what happened with some of the what happened in the 2008 in America, you know. And some people said it is because of the representation. Some others said because of the corporate government do not allow things. I mean, generally, or is it the? I know it's not easy because after all, it's a PhD in a certain topic, but. Is she going to compare different corporate governance between countries or something, or not?
Actually, Bahrain is actually following the UK corporate governance code, but they follow something very similar, but not the new one. They're still focusing mostly on shareholders, not on stakeholders. So this maybe is an area for paper-based research. Actually, I'm planning to do that as paper-based research and which might add more notions to the nuances to the paper. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor Abdullah, because this will really help Bahrain, the corporate sector in Bahrain, I'm sure, and even in the GCC.
Yes.
And,
they are yet to catch up with us, with the UK, I mean.
Yes, yes, and I can already sense a bright future for you in consultancy for the corporate governance.
Hopefully, yeah. And by the way, the US there's just started in 2019. So yes. So we need to catch up with these countries.
Yes. Yes.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Anyone else with a question, comment, advice?
I have a question and comment, if you don't mind me, Dr. Maria.
Go ahead.
Comment regarding the title. The question mark should be removed because you are not asking question. Not is it a blessing, whatever. And the title to be tweaked properly in order that people they don't misunderstand. It could be maybe a blessing or a case or a curse, the case in the UK or in case in Bahrain. Okay, so be very specific because that saves any even external examiner to ask you, is it this across the world? Where you do it? This is the first thing I would like to do. The other thing in terms of your topic is really interesting topic, but maybe when you said in your response to Dr. Ahlam question about you are collecting data, two questions I have. Which stage you are in, and have you did the ethical approval because you can't collect data before ethical approval, please?
Yeah, it's in process.
It is in the process, okay.
Yes.
But be careful, you can't say I collect data because not allowed in the UK.
Yes,
please,
yes,
okay.
Fine.
You put yourself and us and Ahliya in compromise.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wafi, for your advice and comments.
Thank you, Dr. Maria.
Great. So if we don't have any more questions or comments, then we will end this session for today. Thank you all very much. Fatma, do you have any final comments for us?
I would just like to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity, especially Dr. Abdullah and my supervisors, Dr. Amam Shaukat and Dr. Abdul Muttalib. Without them, I would not have been here today and reaching this level. So thank you all.
Thank you, Fatma dear. And I believe this brings us to the end of this session. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Maria, for sharing it. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. According to the schedule, we have 10 minutes of break. Is everyone happy to take 10 minutes, or we could move because we have just one actually presentation after that?
Yeah.
Sorry, would you like a break?
10 minutes, Dr. Wafi. Yes,
10 minutes, okay, Dr. Ahlam. Okay, we have 10 minutes of break. Thank you very much indeed.
هلا حبي هلا.
Hello, dear colleagues, Ahliya and Brunel. I hope we'll come back just to announce some of the awards and closing remarks for this wonderful conference, despite we are not seeing each other physically face to face. I think this personal opinion, not because I'm chairing the conference, but thank you for everyone for this great effort to make it a success. But we wait for the feedback after we close today, whenever next week or whatever the student give us their feedback about what they want us to do better. And again, comment from the colleague at both Ahliya, any feedback. But I would like to welcome, if everyone hopefully here, I'd like to welcome Dr. Chima, the PGR director in BBS, to really announce two submission, okay, two awards for the submission from BBS. So two only people from BBS for submission. And then Dr. Tatiana, she will announce one submission from IT. Hopefully she decided and we talk. And then Chima will announce two overall presentation awards. So submission is 3 going to be awards, 2 from BBS, 1 from IT. Presentation overall, 2. Dr. Chima will do that. Dr. Chima, the floor is to you, please. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Wafi. In terms of the presentations for this year, we had a lot of high quality papers that were sent in terms of the papers for this year in the BBS. So please do not take this, the winners, to mean that you didn't send in something that was extremely tidy, strong, insightful. But that's not the case. It's just that the nature of academia is that, like we've learned from primary school, secondary, and now in the university, is that we need to sort of find a way of differentiating and rewarding the extra efforts. So for the best paper for Brunel Business School, will be given to Yusuf Nassef. That's our #1 champion. And can we give a clap? Can we give a clap? Thank you. And then the second best is Fatima Al-Wahahi. Another very solid presentation. I really enjoyed your work. Please, let's give Fatima a clap too.
Well done.
I will be handing over back to Wafi.
Not actually, I'd like to invite Dr. Tatiana to present one IT submission, please. Tatiana, it's up to you, my dear. Thank you. Sorry, I just have to ring Tatiana just in case she's held up. Sorry about that, just technology hitch, as usual, when overload everyone on Zoom or MS Team. She's coming online, she said now. Tatiana, are you there? If not there, we'll let Chiba do, Dr. Chiba, the two awards for the presentation. I think Dr. Chiba start with the award and Tatiana will join us in a minute. She just has technical issue.
All right. For the best presentation, again, the discussions this year were quite enriching and very interesting. It was interesting listening from yesterday, different ideas, perspective. So this is not a situation where people didn't do well. I mean, there were a lot of standout performances. I particularly enjoyed Ama's presentation. Yusuf brought it home. So there were different performances that were standout. But again, we have to differentiate. So the best presentation, and you have to take note that this is online. So the skill online is actually different from face-to-face. Some people are very strong when it comes to walking up the crowd when it's face-to-face. It's taken me a while to get used to the online, in spite of the fact that I teach hundreds week in, week out. So, but I could see that for a number of the students, there were some natural talents that just came through. And in the world of the day, it's a talent that is meant we need to value and reward. So the best presentation for our session today by unanimous agreement is Turaya Omran. Can we give Turaya a roll of clap? Turaya brought the party home. And another strong performance again from Fatima Arwarahi. She came second by unanimous agreement. Let's give Fatima a clap. Thank you. I don't know if my colleague is in. Over to you, Afi.
Thank you, Dr. Chiba. Dr. Tatiana, she is coming online, she said now. Thank you. To present one winner for submission from the IT area. Thank you.
I went through all papers which has been submitted for IT area, and it was 5 papers has been written out. And the decision was really difficult to make because all of them had really good strong points inside of the papers have been submitted, and because the students were on different level, it was quite difficult to say which one. So I would say don't get disappointed when you will see it's not your name. It doesn't mean that your work is very bad. It means that basically you will be getting very detailed feedback what needs to be improved. Just take it seriously, make it better, so next time you will be a winner. Okay, and I went through all of them quite it was difficult decision because it's you've been all doing great job, you were all doing on difficult sides, and have a look. And the winner is Hussein Abdullah, which is with his paper DOS detection for our IoT network using machine learning. Okay, so well done for Hussein Abdullah.
Thank you.
Dr. Tatiana, thank you very much. Chiba, thank you very much. I'm going to, in a minute, hand in to Professor Abdullah for final and closing word, to Professor Mansour as well, and to Dr. Ahlan for their great effort and their support. But I just would like to say this. PhD is a journey, is a destination. When you finish your PhD, as all of us, even academic, doesn't matter you are doctor, you are professor, you learn something new. Learning is a continuous process. Today, all of us, we've been actually honored to have 2 keynote speakers. Mustafa, we learned from him yesterday, and today Tatiana with her brilliant visualization and mind mapping. And I think, as I said, for me personally, I learned that, although I use it, because anyone in IT, especially in soft system methodology, they use mind mapping, which I did my PhD. So it was really very intellectual and interesting, and variety of topic and variety of context, whether it is in the UK or Bahrain or maybe Saudi or wherever. So we are thankful for you, the PhD student, to make any symposium, whether UK or Bahrain, is successful. Without you, we cannot really run such a session. And I'm grateful to all the input from supervisor, first, second, from reviewer, from the organizer, and we don't forget, like Professor Abdullah yesterday, the unknown soldier, Hassa. Thank you for all her work. Thank you for the IT guys who keep the MS team running. We know the problem with MS team Zoom. So for me, I just will say, look after yourself, be safe, and inshallah, God willing, as we say in Arabic, we see you next year physically and face to face, and hopefully we could embrace as well or hug each other, because we miss that even with my children in this situation. So I hand into Professor Abdullah, and then followed by Professor Mansour and to Dr. Ahlam. From me, from London, thank you very much for a very interesting and successful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wafi and Tatiana and Stephen, and who's else from Brunel here. So, of course, I would like to thank every one of you. From here also, of course, I would like to thank everybody who was involved, and Dr. Ahlam, Thaira, who's else? We should not forget her, because we forgot her at the beginning. يقولون هي الجندي المجهول. I would like really to thank every also the two colleges who are involved, and all the supervisors, and I'm very, very happy that we continue going on despite the pandemic, and this is really important, and the importance, that we learned a lot of things, from it, and I really would like to thank all the people who present, all the people who sent their, whether it's a paper or intended paper or whatever it is, because this gives us really the atmosphere of research and being a part of solving the problems of our country, the world, from a very good point. I have listened to great speakers. I have listened to very good ideas, and I'm really happy that we went on. So I would like to thank our partners in Brunel, all of them, really, every one of them. I forgot, of course, to mention Shima. He was here, but because he's not in the screen sometimes, I only see 9 faces in the screen. So all the others, of course, they are always, part of Ahliya and a part of Brunel. This collaboration is, and we shouldn't forget Ashley, just popped in, and I think we're doing very good job, All I want to say, طبعا Wafi have done a great job this time. He's taken over, and he was really committed, really, and this is great things, I would like to assure partners in Brunel that we are committed, and that management really behind everything. We have been informing deans of the different colleges, supervisors, please, this is an opportunity and this is a great relationship, so make it successful. It's a very important to tell, because it's an experience in the whole world. It's not really 15 years of agreement between a Western well-recognized university, and I keep repeating this, and a young, ambitious university in the Middle East, hoping to be a future research university, and it's going on very well. So I take this opportunity to thank every one of you, to thank all the staff, and to congratulate all those who managed to present. I am very sorry that two of our candidates were not able to present their thesis. I hope they are well. You know, I hope that we will see them again. So really, I would like to leave you with a great thanks and a great love for every one of you. Thank you very much. And I hope we continue on. And inshallah, let's hope next year it will be physical and face-to-face, you know. But you never know, because some here and there news say Corona will be with us for another few years. So let's hope Corona will stay alone. You know, we'll tell them, leave us alone. You know. So thank you very much. Thank you indeed.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Professor Mansour, please.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, really, it's an interesting journey. It's been really a fruitful 2 days. I was really impressed by the presentations and our students. And as I said yesterday, you know, the program is proved itself that it's successful. The students really get supervised beautifully by Brunel and by Ahliya. Both supervisors are playing key roles, and this is reflected in the success of the journey, that they finish on time. And during this journey, they are publishing, and we've seen the quality of the students from their presentations. And I was really impressed by everyone who gave an award, the difficulty they had in deciding who should get it, and that means, you know, the quality is there. It is unfortunate that out of the 12, only 10 actually presented, but sometimes this happens. We really miss the presence, the physical presence, and the chats on the side, and the tea and the food. But, you know, we say in Arabic, you know, al-jud al-mawjood, you know, this is what's available now, and we hope for the best. Really, I want, plus the variety of the topics, I think were also very rich. The variety of the topics were very rich, and I felt that they have a purpose, these research projects. I felt there is a purpose for them, a real purpose. I really want to take the opportunity to thank, you know, just about everybody, first of all, from here locally. I hope I don't miss names. You know, Dr. Ahlam, Dr. Thaira, Hassa, just about everybody here. And I don't want to forget Haytham, who has really worked on the technical side of things, and he's there all the time. And from Brunel, our, you know, beloved team, Dr. Wafi, Dr. Titania, Dr. Stephen, and Stephen's role in spending many hours writing that SIR report, many hours, you know, a lot of effort. And the way this today and yesterday, it was managed really by Dr. Wafi and his team. I really want to congratulate everybody. Thank you very much. All the best to everybody. Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mansour. And finally, our hard drive, I mean it, the candle of Ahliya. Dr. Ahlam, please.
Thank you. The candle cannot light without you all, without our committed students. Actually, really, I'm so proud of them. We are so proud that they managed to be committed. I have to thank every student committed to attend. We are so proud of you. We are so proud of the level that you are reaching in. I'm so proud to receive that the comments of the best, good quality papers. We thank also the supervisors, their commitment and their support, presenting and side by side with their students. And of course, we thank the chairs, and on the top, we thank those who are the keynotes, Professor Mustafa and Tatiana, and all the effort of every team spirit, a lovely team spirit. Though the distance is very far, but believe me, like we are seeing you with the heart, with the brain, and we cannot, I cannot say more than the efficient response of the emails with us. I can feel that you are surrounded with us. When we say sisters, universities, yes, we are sisters, and the team spirit that shows, it was really very good to make this symposium very successful. Of course, we will send appreciation certificates with a big heart to all of you, electronic one, and for the winners and for all the students who attended today. I wish you all the best in your journey. I wish next year all of us will be together, seeing each other face to face, physically. Inshallah, this corona will go like this. There is a say, go corona. Inshallah, we'll meet again. All the best, inshallah, and see you again next year. Thanks very much for the support. Also for Hassa, I will not forget. Thanks, Professor Abdullah, Professor Mansour, Dr. Thaira, Haytham, everybody, Steve. Thank you very much. Flying kiss for all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thaira. Love and kisses to you as well. We miss you here, and Professor Mansour remind me, we miss seeing you physically, but we miss as well the chat and the food and all your rich hospitality. Very grateful for